Hi, welcome to episode 30 of CultureWatch Radio. I'm Andrew Smith, and with me is Bill Muhlenberg. Bill, you're now in really good company, with Sky News having a 7-day ban on YouTube. What's the world come to?
Yes, well, it's a big world indeed. I am small fry by the scheme of things, but when you get an entire Australian media network taken off, at least one of the major social media platforms, well, you are in good company and you wonder what's going on. I've had, as we know, some of my videos pulled by YouTube. I've been banned by Facebook, but as I say, I'm just Joe Average. But when you get this whole network taken down for a week, wow, that's scary stuff indeed, and it's something we've been warning about for a while now.
Yeah. It's not the YouTube from 5 years ago.
Well, most of this isn't. I mean, they all probably started, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and so on, all started probably with the best of intentions. Let's communicate, bring the world closer together. Let's have free access. Great stuff, great ideas, but we're certainly not getting that kind of situation today. It's all now radical secular left controlling what we believe, what we see, what we hear, what we listen to. It's become a draconian push to limit, in fact, free speech and to direct the way we are able to think and believe. So that's a big worry indeed.
And certainly at this stage, they can no longer pretend that it's those little misinformation amateurs we want to protect you from.
Yes. Well, that's it. It's getting to the point where, we've had Donald Trump, President of the United States. We've had people like Craig Kelly, politicians here in Australia. We've had all kinds of big cheeses getting the same treatment, being banned, being kicked off, being shadow banned, and so on. So this is getting to be quite sinister, and it wouldn't be a big deal if we had a zillion different alternatives, but these are really monopolies in many ways. They have the power. All the other smaller groups put together hardly have, come close to the power, the numbers, and so on that these folks have. So it's getting to be a real worry when they have that much control over what's said and thought in public.
And Bill, you've got stories of Canada starting to crack down on harmful websites.
Well, it's not the first time, but yes, new proposed legislation there would really see a crackdown of all, what's called harmful media content. Of course, whenever the state gets to decide what's helpful and useful and what's harmful, that's a worry. So that's going through in Justin Trudeau's Canada. Obviously, a website like CultureWatch would be the first to go. Good thing I'm in Australia, but obviously, I guess people can listen to me in Canada, so there's no national boundaries in the internet world. So this is just another example of how, we have not just the tech giants, but we have whole nations in bed together deciding what content will be allowed, who can be heard, what can be seen, and what will be banned. So it's this collusion between tech giants, between the big state, even in the case of the Rona, big pharma, they're all kind of singing on the same song sheets. And, that's Brave New World kind of stuff indeed.
Yeah, at least one thing that'll work in our favour when it gets hard is that the internet was designed from the ground up to survive, parts of it being shut down. And the other parts still work. It's such as in the case of war. And so if you are blocked off access to one point, there are other ways, technically, to get around it.
Yes, well, that's the theory, and hopefully in a still somewhat free West, that can happen. As we say, there are alternatives to the big tech giants, but they have such a fraction of audience and such a fraction of influence compared to the big ones that, you really have monopoly powers here, which is never good. There should be genuine competition. and B, these things really are acting like public utilities. They're offering a public service. And when they get in the censorship business, that's a real worry indeed. But we can look at places like communist China, where they are, in fact, very much controlling not just the internet, but controlling everything. And that's the scary thing for me when you see what's happening there in China and we see the West moving in that direction. That's a worry because we're just a few steps behind in terms of total control of populations, of who can see what, who can go where, 24/7 surveillance, the whole police state that we see in communist China with the social credit system. Boy, we're quickly heading that way here in the West.
And all that over just this little virus thing and a vaccine they want us to take. It's almost like they're overplaying their hand.
Well, we wonder if there's connections here, the whole Wuhan virus, even questions about, was it deliberately created in a lab to begin with? And China's quite happy to use it for its own purposes. But sadly, and the scary thing is, so many Western leaders have run with the panic porn. They've run with the fear mongering. They've really offered no hope, no comfort, no direction for the future to their citizens. Instead, we have the daily fear conferences being held. We have the various lockdowns, the various mandates, and the mantra now is, well, if we get to a magic number, 75, 80, 85% of the population being vaccinated, well, guess what? Then we can give you some of your freedoms back. Wow, how nice of the big state to first steal away our basic human rights and freedoms and then in dribs and drabs give us bits and pieces back. But the worry here, of course, is places like Israel, which does have the highest vaccination rate in the world. They are now talking about more mandates, whether mass mandates, they're talking about more lockdowns. So this whole mantra is bogus. It's false. We could get 110% of the population vaccinated. It still spreads. The virus can still be contracted. And governments are still happy to play in lockdown mode. So this is the worry that we see happening all over.
Worse still, people who have been vaccinated are still coming down with COVID. And they're calling these breakthrough cases. It's
Wow.
like if a contraceptive fails, it's no longer the contraceptive failing, but it's a breakthrough pregnancy.
Yeah, well, that's the problem here. This was the panacea. Everybody get vaccinated, and we'll save the universe, we'll save grandma. But we're finding, people getting vaccinated are still getting the virus. They're still passing it on. It may be the case that their illnesses are a bit less, maybe death rates down a bit for those doubly jabbed, although now we're talking about booster shots, third, fourth, fifth jabs. Never ends, it seems. But this is not what's been promised, and you just have to wonder, again, is there a status plan for complete control? Communist China's not hiding its aims and intentions here. They're fully clear on what they want to do. They want to have a complete servile state with all of the population fully tracked, fully monitored, fully under surveillance. Right now, we have our vaccine passports coming the norm in the West. We have the QR tracking systems wherever you go, whatever restaurant, whatever business, whatever supermarket you go in. Now we know where you've been. China has taken this to the max. And the question is, can we keep the West from going in the same direction?
You know what I'm thinking? Follow the money.
Yes, that's a big part of it, isn't it? Big Pharma is making billions out of their vaccinations and so on. Governments are, they've always loved a crisis to get further control. And so whether it's the money, the power, the control, it's not looking good at the moment. And we have to be asking the hard questions. all the more reason to go back to what we first start talking about, the need for a real free media, including the social media, where there are alternative points of view. It's not just one or two monster tech companies having a monopoly over what's said, what's seen, what's heard. We need freedom to ask hard questions when it seems like the state is really afraid to hear honest questions.
Yeah. After all, if it's the truth, it shouldn't mind being put under scrutiny. As always, while you can, get more information at the CultureWatch website. And we'll see you again next week with another episode of CultureWatch Radio.